But on the other side of it, one day our children's children will read American history. And can you imagine our reading that James Madison or Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government?
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America, welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hello and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, the show that brings to you the dumbest newsmakers of the week, all for your entertainment, derision, mockery, whatever, but hopefully we all learn a little something about politics as well. So for today's show, we're going to be featuring probably my favorite buffoon of all time, the Reverend Al Sharpton. But before we get to the video, please subscribe to the channel. We're at 1,100 subscribers. We broke that mark last week. Thank you, everybody that helped us with that. Also, like, comment, share the show with your friends. We're going to be talking about Al Sharpton's comments concerning President Donald Trump's indictment over January 6th and his outrageously out of touch and just completely buffoonish comments in regards to that. Let's get to the video right now.
You know, I thought about this as I was looking through the indictment last night.
Reverend Al's thinking this is going to get interesting. Let's see what he thought about.
And I grew up and started my activism in a section of Brooklyn called Brownsville. And walking to the subway many mornings, some of the guys in the neighborhood would say, "Rev, I caught a case." I have never walked down that block and somebody said, "I caught 3 cases." I mean, this is just as low as it gets. I've never heard of 3 cases on one individual in 3 jurisdictions. So this is serious. But on the other side of it, one day our children's children will read American history. And can you imagine our reading that James Madison or Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government so they could stay in power? That's what we're looking at. We're looking at American history, and how it will play out is going to be very important. The sad part about this to me is that this is not a man that is facing all this because he believed in a political position or political policy or cause. I've seen people go down the wrong side for a cause. This is all about him. This is narcissism with steroids. And to think that he could get this whole country divided and split and commit these crimes and have others commit crimes off his own self-aggrandizement is as sick as it gets.
You're a fucking idiot. This needs to stop now.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, let's put aside the whole politicized nature of these indictments against Donald Trump. We can all have our opinions about that. Let's put that to aside for the moment. Al Sharpton talking about division in politics and complaining that someone else is to blame for division in politics when he's been dividing people for the past 40 years is some shocking lack of self-awareness. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of why you're all here. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence. James Madison, the father of the Constitution. Of course, these are men who are not known for overthrowing a government, except, wait, oh yeah, they overthrew their government, the government of Great Britain. We all know this. Both wouldn't overthrow a government, and God forbid we read about that in our history books. Did the American Revolution not happen? Did war with Great Britain not happen? Did 1776 not happen? Are you kidding me here? Would we even be having this conversation about America if it wasn't for people like Madison, Jefferson, other founding fathers, and those who followed them overthrowing a government? Just wow. And the idea, yes, they didn't rebel for power for themselves, which obviously is what Reverend Sharpton knows about. He knows about gathering power for himself, so he's just going to automatically think that others are doing that too. But Donald Trump didn't become president just to gain power for himself. Yes, every politician has a sense of narcissism within them. It's just something that comes with the territory, and it's something I talk about in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. But also, the idea that Trump went into politics after becoming a billionaire, after becoming a brand, after becoming a television personality, just for his own gathering of power. By the way, this is the same Donald Trump that Al Sharpton would go to hat in hand to get donations for different causes for himself as well, that he was actually buddy with for a while. That same guy didn't become president for power. He became president because he saw the nation going in the wrong direction. Let's take the man at his word for that, and let's look at some of his actions for that. Was he the most principled president in the world? I think we can all agree. No, he definitely wasn't. But he definitely governed with some principles in mind. Look at the picks he made for the Supreme Court. Look at his crusade, really, for less regulation and more money to stay with businesses. By far, he was not a perfect president. But he did have principles, and he's also the first president I know of that did not go into office with certain financial standing and end up with a greater financial standing when he left office. A lot of presidents had that happen for them on both sides. Al Sharpton is the alpha and omega of political buffoonery. He is the measuring stick. He is the lodestar. And I talk about it in my book. I want to bring this concept out to you guys because really, this is the funny part of this whole pseudoscience that my friends and I developed called Buffoonology. Let's take a deep dive into some silliness. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. So we have this concept of Buffoonology. It's a pseudoscience that we completely made up. It's meant to make you laugh a little bit as you read the book. But there is some seriousness to it. So a person's buffoonery is broken down into two parts. We have the buffoonish actions that they make and their own inherent buffoonish nature. And we measure these by comparing one buffoon to another. But in order to do that, we need to have a lodestar of buffoonery, and this is how the Sharpton scale of buffoonery was born. So the Sharpton scale of buffoonery is actually two different scales, as you'll see as the graphic moves on here. It is a scale of buffoonish nature because not all buffoons are equal. Some are greater than others. So buffoonish nature is measured on a scale from 0 to 100, with Al Sharpton being the only known perfect 100 in human history. So all buffoons are measured against him. Then we have the scale of buffoonish action magnitude, where we have a unit of measurement that we call the Sharpton, and we give every action an assigned number on a scale with no limit, going from 0 to infinity. There's no upper limit on this scale. And what happens is certain actions are more buffoonish than others. Certain people's natures are more buffoonish than others. As your buffoonish action magnitude increases, so does your inherent buffoonery, your buffoonish nature, increase for the next time you get measured. It's a very funny thing. Think of it this way. You lock your keys in the car. It's a couple of Sharptons. You forget your wedding anniversary. Now we may be talking into the mega Sharpton range. If you don't know the definition of the word is, like Bill Clinton, you want to say, well, it depends on what the definition of is. That's probably in the higher mega Sharptons. If you get arrested for, I don't know, some sort of really bad crime of corruption, now we're into the giga Sharpton range. And once you get past 1.08 giga Sharptons, every action is seen as Sharpton-esque and will move you further along the scale of buffoonish nature. You'll be jumping up from there. But with every scale, as your buffoonish nature goes up, it gets harder and harder to go up further on the scale because you have to keep doing Sharpton-esque things in order to keep moving up. And like we said, Al Sharpton is the only person to be considered the perfect buffoon, the perfect 100, because of all the categories identified in my book, Al Sharpton, throughout his political career, has embodied that buffoon. And we identify a lot of different types of buffoons in this book. So as for this latest instance of buffoonery by Reverend Al Sharpton, he exhibits, again, a hybrid of these buffoons that we identify in the book. He's certainly the BS buffoon here because he is speaking with such confidence, but he lacks knowledge about the Founding Fathers. He is also very hypocritical here because he is trying to portray the traits that he has himself and project them onto Donald Trump. The idea that he is there for self-aggrandizement. Can you think of anybody else who thinks of themselves more than they think about a topic or an issue of concern rather than Reverend Al Sharpton? When he shows up, does he not make himself the personification of the issue rather than giving a voice to an issue? When he talks about narcissism, can you think of anybody more narcissistic than Reverend Al Sharpton, who fancies himself the leader of the African-American movement in politics, more so than Reverend Jesse Jackson, more so than others who are his contemporaries? Can we think of anybody else who has a high opinion of themselves and doesn't deserve it than Reverend Al Sharpton? And he accuses Donald Trump of running a grift here, that he's only caring about gathering power. Who else better embodies the grift than Reverend Al Sharpton? If there was a Grifters Hall of Fame, the first inductee would be Reverend Al Sharpton, based upon a 40-year career, probably even more than that now. It's getting close to a 50-year career of running a grift. It started in the People's Republic of New York City, has grown nationally. I mean, who else has been in TV portraying himself, had a news show with commentary when he had no media training whatsoever and would just bumble and stumble his way through a TV show? Now, listen, I have my stumbles, and granted, I understand that, but I'm not going on a national cable news show. I'm not being gifted that from Jump Street, and then I can't read a teleprompter, as we've seen with Reverend Al. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the Washington Free Beacon's YouTube channel and check out Al Sharpton versus the teleprompter.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus, when Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. In evolution and Galileo, I mean, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed.
So many instances of it. This is someone who has race baited and grifted his way to the top, and now he's accusing Donald Trump of being basically a crime boss. When I think about it, of Donald Trump and Reverend Al Sharpton, they've both been surveilled by the FBI. They've both been the target of government investigations. So maybe we should take his word for it, that he knows what he knows because he's been there himself. But he doesn't want to tell you that. He'd rather you just know about Donald Trump being the worst person ever, because that's what the grift is all about. So that'll do it for this video, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, please do so. Please like, share, comment, all that good stuff. And please keep coming back. Let me know what you think about this video and other videos we've done. Do you disagree with me about Reverend Al Sharpton? Can you think of a bigger grifter, a better embodiment over the life of a body of work that would be a better, perfect buffoon? Let me know in the comments, and I want to continue the conversation with you guys every day that we do these videos. And please, for goodness sakes, please keep coming back so we can continue to discuss all these shenanigans and buffoonery that's going on this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.